Live on a Tuesday. It's the 10th of June. Welcome inside the vault for a Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. I am Bobby Trossett. My co-host and partner, Sarah Ellison, is in Switzerland right now. It looks to be enjoying her trip based on what she's posted on social media, her Instagram stories. She's even tweeted out a few updates from her trip, which you know I'm selfishly loving. I love when she overshares. But she and her daughter, London, are enjoying their Euro travels, and man, as it deserves. So shout out Sarah, shout out London. You can tweet at her and send a nice little message as she continues to enjoy her time over the pond and across the way at SG Ellison. Today is brought to you by our friends at Baltimore County Golf, and we are so thrilled to be partnering up with that group, with an awesome friggin' Baltimore-based company in the Baltimore area. And if you are a fan of golf, if you are in need of a Father's Day gift, a Father's Day plan, look no further. I'm fired up to let you know about what we've got going on with Baltimore County Golf, and I'm going to tell you about it right off the top because right now you can enter to win $350 in credit that can go towards the purchase of a new golf club or clubs at the Fox Hollow Training Center. Plus, on top of that, they're going to give you a 30-minute custom fitting to guarantee you get the best club. So overall fit, overall size, overall feel, so on and so forth. You can enter once a day until the end of the day on Thursday. And we're going to announce our winner randomly selected coming up on Friday's show. So again, click on the link that's included in a couple different places in the show notes as a pinned comment in the live chat. If you're in the Twitter space, come on over to YouTube. It's where you can enter in, and it'll bring you directly here where, again, you can enter to win. And in honor of Father's Day, in honor of U.S. Open Week, and in honor of all of our golf fans, here you go. Looking forward to that partnership. On your way in, if you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell. As you can probably hear in my voice, I'm fired up today. We got sponsorships. We've got momentum. We've got vacation upcoming. We're gearing up for our merch line to drop later on this summer. And I just think that there's a lot to be fired up about. And I also am pleasantly reminded by Tim's note here as the show began. It's not a super chat, but it is a nice note. And he says, saying hello now. I will be listening until I finish my workout. And while that seems like a pretty normal comment, right? Nothing out of the ordinary. I just thought it's a great reminder that so many of you take us with you throughout your days in what's really smack dab in the middle of a lot of your days, assuming that a lot of you are on the East Coast. So, Tim, have a great workout. And I just thought it was a nice little reminder of what everybody's up to, because when you're looking into a camera and on a screen, sometimes you forget the community that we're cultivating here. So thanks for that reminder, Tim. I appreciate you guys for being here. And here's what I have coming up over the course of what will be a jam-packed hour. You see in the title that Mike Florio had a little bit of a meltdown, okay? He had some comments at the end of last week regarding Lamar Jackson and the money that he's forfeited by his attendance at OTAs or lack thereof this year. It's pocket watching in a sense, and it is something that he and Chris Sims do annually when it comes to Lamar Jackson's involvement or, again, lack thereof in this portion of the voluntary organized team activities at this point in the offseason program. We'll get into that. We'll get into some other things as well. He talked a little bit about the response, the uproar to last week's comments on Lamar, and Ravens fans responded accordingly online. I'll have clips from that. Did the Ravens just make a, quote, immediate inquiry into the potential of discussing Jaire Alexander, who was released by the Green Bay Packers yesterday? Josina Anderson has some on that, including Jeff Zarebek's latest. Malachi Starks put on a masterclass for mental fortitude yesterday in his press conference. What else? AFC North pass rusher drama is heating up as mandatory minicamp begins for Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Need I say any more? It's going to be a jam-packed one. I'm glad you guys can be with me today. And let's get started with this. We will revisit comments from last week. And I shared these with you already, but just in case you needed a reminder, Mike Florio had this to say about Lamar as an extension, and the talks surrounding a potential extension continue. And it kind of resurfaced last week when Eric DaCosta did a local podcast and shared exactly that talks are in preliminary stages. Okay. So that prompted Mike to say this. Quote, we're possibly 3 years away from the Ravens quietly developing an affinity for a quarterback that's entering the NFL and quietly stepping away from Lamar Jackson. Every player has a shelf life. He then kind of went back, and I'm just paraphrasing here, to compare to what happened to Joe Flacco back in 2018. The two players could not be at different parts and phases of their career at this point. We all know that. Mike went on to say, I guarantee they're already thinking, how many more years are we going to get out of Lamar? And when do we need to start thinking about finding our next quarterback? That was Mike Florio last week. That was part of what he had to say. And again, while 3 years feels like a long time, or a short amount of time, I guess, in life, in NFL years, that's like 30 years. A lot can happen. A lot can happen throughout the course of a 3-year time frame in the National Football League. I thought it was premature for Mike to bring that up, but I do understand the business side of it. I also understand why Ravens fans took him to task, and that's exactly what they did last week once those comments were posted on X. He had a response to some of those tweets, and it sounded like this.
About Lamar on Friday, and these Ravens fans are looking for anything they can to try to come at me and make it look like I hate Lamar. My point was and is, from the team's perspective, you never know when they're going to decide to draft a quarterback's replacement, because they did it to Joe Flacco after 10 years in the league. They all of a sudden go out and draft Lamar Jackson, and within a year, Flacco's gone. I'm not saying that's going to happen or should happen. I'm just saying you have to factor that in to these talks about an extension. At some point, the Ravens are going to be thinking, we're pulling out this part of the machine and we're going to put in a new one, because they did it to Flacco. I'm not saying they will or should do it to Lamar. All I'm saying is they did it to Flacco, so you can't ignore that possibility. And we're only 3 years away from that window opening if they're going to try to do something like that or are thinking about doing something like that. So people lost their shit because they're looking for anything they can to say he hates Lamar. Look at the whole quote. Look at the whole body of work. I voted for Lamar for MVP last year, for crying out loud. He hates Lamar Jackson. You can't criticize Lamar Jackson without being perceived as hating him. It's exhausting, people. Read the whole comment, take the whole thing into consideration, and then you'll understand where we're coming from.
First of all, sorry for not censoring the end of that clip there from Mike Florio. But again, he was responding after plenty of uproar, right? Was sparked. I mean, it sparked an uproar. There was a lot of backlash online, some of which was deserving, right? I thought that these were premature comments, but I also understand the business side of it and how he's viewing this, right? He has a business. He's viewing it from a business lens. And so, look, the big difference is Joe Flacco in 2018 was at a very different point in his career than 2025 Lamar Jackson is at this current moment. We all can agree with that. Now, to be fair to Mike, he's looking 3 years down the line. Okay, let's play that game then. Lamar is 28 years old. He'll be 29 in January. So if it's 3 years from right now, or 3 years from what will be his 8th NFL season, he'll be 31 years old. Lamar's under contract for 2 more years. Obviously, his cap number has skyrocketed to over 40 for this season, and then will go astronomically to over 70 million in 2026, which is part of the reason why I'm sure extensions talks are starting to heat up. I don't know if they're actually heating up, but I know that based on Eric DeCosta's comments, they've been happening as recently as in person a week or two ago when Lamar showed up to the first session of voluntary organized team activities. That's where we're going next, by the way. More pocket watching, which seems to be an annual trend, right? From Pro Football Talk, Mike and Chris is coming up in just a second here. But to think that the end could be near for Lamar, barring a catastrophic injury, knock on wood, is ludicrous. This is an ascending player who's coming off a career season and should have been named MV3. If it weren't for voter fatigue, that probably would have been in his trophy case by now. I wonder where his Heisman is. Baltimore, South Florida, where could it be? Anyway, premature. Lamar is in the smack dab middle of his prime. Joe was on the back nine, although here he is 8 years later, 7 years later, could potentially be a starter still in this league should he win the job, which I would think he's in pole position to do in Cleveland. Who cares if it's not a postseason team? Joe Flacco's still around, so he has proven that longevity is something that he can bring to the table. I just think that to have that conversation regarding Lamar is way too early. Way too early. And a lot can change over 3 years. But Lamar has shown that 2020 and 2021 season, those 2 seasons, were an outlier when it comes to being injury prone, when it comes to his availability or lack thereof. And I expect that to continue moving forward, especially with the way that they've built around him, particularly in the backfield. That's what makes Derrick Henry's presence such a luxury, and vice versa for Derrick having Lamar as his running mate. Now, to the pocket watching coverage. As Pro Football Talk tweeted out last week, by skipping off-season workouts, Lamar has forfeited another $750,000 workout bonus. And Mike goes back to 2024. And Lamar has now given up $1.5 million. These are calculated decisions, I would think, in terms of how he wants to structure his offseason. And at the end of the day, while these clauses do exist in his contract, these are voluntary organized team activities. Mandatory minicamp is the 17th, 1 week from today, through the 19th. Lamar will be there. Training camp will start in late July. Lamar will be there. I used to be of the belief, and this was in the Greg Roman era, or perhaps early on in the Todd Monken era when Lamar was implementing and going through the install process of a brand new offensive scheme and a new coordinator and having new targets and playmakers around him, that Lamar should be there. And then I started chatting with past and present players about what actually takes place at OTAs. Obviously, they are still way out from the pads coming out. They are still way out from there being full attendance. Lamar is not the only player that hasn't exactly been around throughout the OTA sessions. And by the way, just to reiterate what we already know from 2 weeks ago, he did show up to the first session of voluntary organized team activities. So following this, while they're consistent, Mike and Chris are, with their steadfast belief that he should be there, I don't agree with it. It doesn't move the needle for me. And I tend to agree with something that Sarah has noted and expressed in recent years, and that is, unless there is a new system that you're attempting to master, unless you're in a contract year, unless you have a brand new offensive personnel grouping around you, then why not? Then why show up to every single Ravens organized team activity? He's going to be there when it matters. And ultimately, look at the product. Do you think last year he would have had, 3 interceptions instead of 4 or 2 instead of 4 had he shown up to every single OTA the previous offseason? I don't think so. I can tell you how he would actually get to 3 or 2 interceptions instead of 4. And it has everything to do with Rashad Bateman in a couple of those plays that he would have wanted back. Right? So I can't sit here and confidently tell you that the Ravens are being held back by Lamar's lack of involvement in OTAs. John Harbaugh literally nearly said as much recently regarding this exact topic. Here it is.
I'm not taking any position on it, judging it, whatever. Lamar, the day he was out here, played great. I could see he was in great shape. Threw the ball great, made the reads, knew the offense excellent, in an excellent kind of way. I thought he was fantastic. And when he comes back and practices, when that happens, I expect him to play at that level. That's what you measure. You measure for any player, it's how they play. I'm not measuring, really the attendance. I mean, it's a voluntary camp, so I'm not measuring that. I mean, I love being out here, and I think all the players do. And when Lamar's out here, I promise you, he loves being out here. you could see it when he was out here. So he's my guy. I love him, and I can't wait to just get into this season and get going.
Even if deep down as a coach, Harb's like thinking, man, I wish he were here. Of course he's probably thinking that. He wants to get his hands on Lamar and every single player in-house in his system as much as he possibly can because he's a coach. That's what they love to do. That's their craft. But it's voluntary. And I thought that was a really fair and understandable way to answer that question. Just so we're being thorough, too, in terms of the money forfeited, right? And how this impacts the overall team. Brian McFarland, Ravens salary cap analyst, got into the details of exactly that. That's $750,000 credit for this that Mike mentions, right? That Lamar is forfeiting that bonus, that workout bonus. It will not have any effect on the Ravens' 2025 cap situation, but it will be a credit on the team's 2026 cap, just as they received a $750,000 credit on their 2025 cap for Lamar not earning his 2024 workout bonus. So just so you know, that's the monetary aspect of it, or impact of it, or lack thereof, really, just so that we're following along. Okay, back to what Mike Florio and Chris Sims discussed more of in their recent Pro Football Talk segment. Okay, and it has everything to do with, again, this topic of attendance and organized team activities. Here's Florio.
That he's making a lot more than that. He's making $52 million a year, but $3 million is still $3 million. That takes you out of the. That takes you not. It doesn't take you out of the $50 million per year club because it's $3 million total spread over 4 years, but it knocks you down for 4 years, $750,000 each year. That's a Ferrari a year after taxes.
Damn,
That's
I know.
a lot to give up. And you're going to work out anyway. And you're not protected if you're working out on your own. That's all the more reason to go, show up, be there, check the boxes, get your $750,000, and have insurance against the millions that are tied to your salary. Because if you blow out an Achilles tendon at the Planet Fitness, they can screw you if they want to. Now, I don't know if the Ravens would, but why even put them in that position where they could?
You heard him, Florio. It knocks you down for 4 years, $750,000 each year. That's a Ferrari a year after taxes. That's a lot to give up. Florio commenting on Lamar's decision to hang back from several sessions of Ravens organized team activities. Guess what? At the end of the day, he makes some compelling points when it comes to the insurance part of it, the security part of it, right? And the risk that every single player takes, right, and weighs when working out away from the facility. Luckily, and I hate to say luckily because I'm sure Ardarius Washington feels very unlucky these days, just weeks removed from an Achilles tear and a successful surgery, by the way. But luckily for Ardarius, if he really had to tear it, right, if it was something that was inevitable, then you would want to tear it in-house, on campus. And that's exactly what happened to Ardarius in a conditioning session at one winning drive. So he has the security, right, that comes along with being injured when you're on the Ravens property. Yes, technically speaking, again, I'm knocking on every piece of wood that's within a country mile of me right now as I say this. Technically, yes, Lamar and every other player that has not attended voluntary organized team activities is risking the potential for injury outside of the organization's in-house management and operation. But that's something that has worked for Lamar in recent years, and he's gotten together with his teammates in the offseason in South Florida as he has in recent years. And again, it would feel very disingenuous, right? Very almost high horse entitled for me to sit here and criticize Lamar this time of year after what he's put on tape, after what he's proven works for him. How can we sit here and criticize his decision-making in the dead of offseason after what he's put out there? I can't do it. Now, a former player like Chris Sims, while he's got a tremendous amount of respect for Lamar, he still can't wrap his head around that lack of involvement when it comes to OTA attendance.
What were we saving 3% with not hiring the agent for if we were just going to flush 5% down the drain? I'm just like, oh, okay, good thing we didn't give the agent the money. I mean, as we waste more money than it would have cost to be the agent, to have an agent, I don't get that necessarily, but it's his money. He does what he wants. And also on that, listen, it's hard to argue with the results of what we've seen. This is 2 off seasons in a row, but damn, I mean, last year he was incredible. It might have been the best year of his career. He was insanely good. But yet I still don't condone Lamar Jackson not being there with the Ravens through OTAs and all the workouts. Yeah, you're the man. I root for you. I want the best for you. I'm not saying this because I don't like you. I'm saying it because, like, yeah, you should be there. And the team has just missed. You know, just the last 2 years, you're the best team in the AFC when it's late December. These are the little things I look at to go, well, maybe they get you over the hump, right? I don't know. Again, I'd be scratching and clawing to do anything I could to get over the hump. He's still the man. I know that. I'm just saying I wish he was there right now. I don't understand that as being the leader of the Ravens football team.
Chris Sims doubling down on what's become an annual take of his. I can remember, gosh, as far back as maybe 2022, 2021, when Lamar started to kind of cut back when it comes to his offseason involvement this time of year in where they're at in the program. And just so you know, where they are is this week marks the final session of voluntary team activities, right? Organized team activities. They are voluntary by choice. And then mandatory mini camp takes place 1 week from today, June 17th through the 19th. Then they get a month off, a month plus off, and they'll be back in the building as a full team, full organization for training camp at the end of July, which goes obviously all the way through the month of August. It is kind of a deja vu, right, Evan? Because this does kind of feel like a broken record segment that we do every single time this year. And so, hey, if he's going to double down, then I'm going to as well. I don't think that this is necessary, this type of coverage, but they're entitled to their opinions. And Chris Sims, as a former player, has his. He said he was insanely good. He also said that it was probably the best year of his career, which I think it absolutely was. But yet I still don't condone Lamar not being there with the Ravens through OTAs and the workouts. These are the little things I look at that maybe get you over the hump. I wish he was there right now. I don't understand that as being the leader of the Ravens football team. Again, you won't see me sitting here at this point in my learning process, because earlier on in Lamar's career, I did have some opinions in terms of his lack of involvement, but that was in the Greg Roman era, right? There was constant change within the Greg Roman era. And as the Todd Monken era began, you noticed that Lamar and his involvement and his participation skyrocketed. It's a new system. It's a new coordinator. In 23, he had 2 new wide receivers at his disposal, and Zay Flowers and Odell Beckham Jr. And you saw a player that understood that there was newness. There was new on the horizon. At this point, Lamar's coming off his most spectacular season as a pro, which is saying something, as a 2-time MVP. Could have very well, and probably should have very well, have been 3-time MVP, if not for voter fatigue. Yes, he has new pieces around him offensively, but none of them are, you would think, going to be more than just role players. LaJohntay Wester obviously is one of their rookie wide receivers. We'll see if he gets some run as a return specialist. Aside from that, and DeAndre Hopkins, who he's already been working with at least one organized team activity, there's continuity, right? There's cohesion. There's familiarity. This is year 3 in the system. And so I have a really hard time sitting here on June 10th criticizing Lamar for decision-making that he clearly is comfortable with, that clearly works for him, and ultimately is a voluntary activity at this point in the offseason. I can't do it. Chris and Mike have for different reasons. Mike takes sort of the monetary lawyer approach because that's his background. Chris, as a former player, is looking at it from a leadership perspective. I don't see it. I just don't see it. Appreciate you guys for being with me on this Tuesday. Hope you're having a great day. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell. Jaire Alexander is our next topic, and it was, of course, yesterday because the multi-time Pro Bowl corner was released by the Green Bay Packers yesterday. He has barely been available for Green Bay in recent seasons, and that's obviously the big caveat to this. It's a sexy name. It's a big-time player, but will he be available for you? Is it the right player at the right price? And can you ever have enough cornerbacks? In Baltimore, that is certainly not the case. We're going to get to that in just a bit. But before we do, this episode is brought to you by my friends at Baltimore County Golf, and we are thrilled to be sponsored by Baltimore County Golf. I mean, this is just, you guys already know my love and affinity for the game of golf, and having gotten to know the folks at Baltimore County Golf as we've kind of put this partnership together. I just couldn't be more thrilled with what we have in store for you, beginning with a Father's Day special. Right now, you can enter to win a $350 gift card in credit that can go towards the purchase of a new golf club or a set of clubs, depending on what you're looking at the Fox Hollow Training Center, okay, outside of Baltimore. On top of that, they're going to give you a 30-minute custom fitting to guarantee to get the right club, the right fit, the right feel, all of that for you golf fans out there. It's the perfect time for Father's Day around the corner. If you're in that last-minute game right now looking for something for your father, for your husband, whatever that might be, for your grandfather, look no further. You can click on the link that's included in the show notes. It's also a pinned comment right now in the live chat. And that'll take you to this that you see on the screen. Super easy. Just follow the instructions. Email, name, zip. Which Baltimore County golf course have you played, if any of them? My favorite out of all these right here. Ooh, it's a tough one. I love Greystone, man. Greystone is top notch. They all are. And I think that's probably the beauty of this partnership, because if you aren't familiar with their 5 courses, I'm going to make sure you are by the time this partnership is up. Greystone, The Woodlands, Diamond Ridge, Fox Hollow, and Rocky Point, all of which are in Baltimore County. Pay more and pay less with Baltimore County Golf. You can grab a 3-pack of lessons from a Baltimore County Golf teaching professional near you. Perhaps start playing more now that the summer is officially here. The Fox Hollow Training Center offers special clinics all summer long that introduce you to the game of golf and get you comfortable on the golf course. And how about the Advantage card? Check it out. $40. It's going to get you greens fee and golf shop discounts, 16-day advanced tee time reservations, $20 in coupons, access to twilight times 1 hour earlier than the general public, and loyalty rewards points on everything from greens fees to food and beverage. Go to BaltimoreGolfing.com to learn more and enter in, baby. $350. That'll get you a nice driver. Maybe it'll help you chip away at that golf set that you're looking at. Show notes, pinned comment. Thanks to Baltimore County Golf for all the love. Winner will be announced on Friday. You can enter in once a day between now and the end of Thursday. We got some super chats as well. Tyler H. got the gift giving run going at 12:10, so about 20 minutes ago. So thank you, Tyler. That brings us to 620 channel Voltrons, which is awesome. I actually never got a real-time update on that. I might be just blatantly lying unintentionally. But let's get an update for you, just because I'm always curious where we're at. Great audience today. Over 900 concurrents right now, Tila, between all platforms, and that does not include Sarah's Twitter account. So big time Wednesday for us. Let's see what our member count is up to in terms of official channel members. Okay, we are at 615. So that brings us to 620, thanks to Tyler's generosity. Appreciate you, Tyler. Draydog679 says Josh Allen is 30 next year. Joe Burrow is the same age as Lamar. Patrick turns 30 this year. Dak is 31. Are their teams talking about their replacements? Good point. Nothing else needs to be said. B1 and only says these analysts are disrespectful when it comes to Lamar. Period. then they will say the Ravens fans are ignorant and unhinged. Miss me with that. You guys are fired up today. Ocean says Mike and other ESPN people have double standards for Lamar and no one else. Notice how he never says this about Burrow or Allen? So annoying. Liza says, I have one question for Flores and Sims. Flores. Is Rodgers at Pittsburgh's voluntary OTAs? No, he will be there at mandatory minicamp. And speaking of Pittsburgh's mandatory minicamp, once we get to quick hits, the drama continues at the pass rusher position in the AFC North. We'll get to that in just a bit. Thank you, Liza. James Green, Bobby, not to sound like a racist. If this was any other quarterback, this wouldn't be an issue. Thank you for the $20 orange banner. That thing pops, doesn't it? And look who's become a new channel member. So supportive of us from the jump. My guy who had the pleasure of meeting in person last January in Buffalo on a rigidly cold day. Of course, we all remember that, and we all remember the outcome of that. But it was at the Be More Around Town tailgate, which was a tremendous experience in the frigid Buffalo temperatures. That's my guy, Sharu Hashmi. Sharu, you get us to 621, and that is where we stand right now. Could 650 be in the cards? Better yet, could we be talking about 700 at some point this week? Park Heights Prophet has been nowhere to be found, which makes me wonder if Dre Dog went hunting for him. Just kidding. Thank you guys for being here with me. Again, over 900 concurrents. If you could please like the video on your way in, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell, and perhaps consider becoming a channel member. We're coming up on that 650 number. 650. That's what we got going on. Well, on to the latest following this Jaire Alexander conversation. And in order to do so, I will lean on my friend and friend of the show and NFL insider Josina Anderson, who had this to say about the latest regarding the multi-time Pro Bowl corner who was released by the Green Bay Packers yesterday. Josina, as of this morning, was told that 6 teams made immediate inquiries about Jaire Alexander upon his release from the Packers on Monday. That's according to her league source. So we had this conversation, and since he was released, the Ravens have been named as a potential landing spot. A couple different outlets. CBS Sports, one of 2, 4, 6, 8 teams are the Ravens. That could be a potential landing spot. And PFF, my guy Trevor Sakema, who I saw in Indianapolis at the Combine, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The Ravens as one of 6 potential teams that would be a potential landing spot for Jaire Alexander. And while I may not be a huge advocate, given some of the challenges that could come with getting this done, I absolutely see them as a potential landing spot. I don't want to act as if this isn't realistic. I just have some reservations that I discussed in Monday's show. Go check it out if you haven't already done so. A lot of it has to do with overall health and trying to evaluate what you have in the youth, right? The Ravens have a lot of youth at the cornerback position, but I also understand that they are potentially one injury away from being thinner than thin and having more questions than they do answers. You've got Marlon Humphrey, you've got Nate Wiggins, and you've got on paper your Brandon Stevens replacement and Cheeto Awuzie, but Cheeto has some questions in the injury department just like Jaire Alexander does, and I think that's probably one of the main reasons why Tennessee is willing to eat 7.5 M's just for Cheeto to suit up for another organization. Now, Jeff Zaribek of The Athletic, friend of the show, beat reporter for the Ravens, noted a couple different things in his latest. Go check it out. A subscription is absolutely worth it, by the way, at The Athletic. And I'll read directly from his latest. Ravens officials have predictably been mum about their interest level in Alexander, and that isn't surprising, Jeff writes. They tend to operate in the shadows, and the more that you hear about their interest level in a player, the less believable it is. However, DaCosta and the front office are always looking and making calls to see if there's a trade or free agent fit that it can improve the team. Alexander is also represented by Rock Nation's John Thornton, who has spent considerable time on the phone with Ravens officials in recent weeks. You want to know why? Well, he reps the recently extended Rashad Bateman. That was finalized last week. as we all learned. Thornton was at the Ravens Under Armour Performance Center when Bateman signed the deal. So while we can't sit here and guarantee that the Ravens are one of the 6 teams that Josina Anderson noted in this morning's tweet, if I am a betting man, given the importance of due diligence, given the familiarity with the player, given Lamar Jackson's friendship, right? Given the Louisville ties, and given, yes, the always need at corner, it would not surprise me if the Ravens were one of those 6 teams. More from Jeff, again, courtesy of his latest in The Athletic. If the topic ever turned to Alexander, only DaCosta or Thornton knows. However, you can be sure the Ravens are at least doing their due diligence, which is consistent with their approach every time a quality player becomes available. The Ravens don't make wow, and I'm air quoting wow, offers to free agents, particularly not in June when they are clinging to every bit of salary cap space they have, which is around $5 million. Don't believe what you see about that $18 million number. They have a bunch of future expenses that have to be accounted for. If a Lamar extension were to get done, obviously that number would skyrocket. But right now, it's around $4 or $5 million. The bet here is that Alexander will find he can make more money and have a more solidified role elsewhere with more motivated buyers than the Ravens. That would make this, quote, should they or shouldn't they sign him, end quote, debate a moot point. However, this is the Ravens we're talking about, and an accomplished player at a potential position of need is suddenly available. Did we mention that the player just happens to be close to Jackson from their days together at Louisville like I did? And Jeff summarizes and finishes things up by saying it feels like an obligation to at least explore the possibility. And I think that's fair, and I agree. But something that Jeff just alluded to me, would be a reservation, okay? Would give me, if I'm Jaire, hesitancy. And that is this positionless, if you will, defense that Zach or John Harbaugh and the Ravens defensive staff want, right? Safeties line up all over the field in the slot. Corners can play safety, right? It is truly a positionless defense. And when you have a unicorn like Kyle Hamilton at your disposal, of course you're going to want that. Will Jaire Alexander want that? Will he be okay eating some humble pie, if you will, if he's not out there for 100% of the defensive snaps? At this point in his career, does he feel like there's more money to be made? Or does he feel like he would sign a 1-year prove-it deal to tell the entire NFL, hey, I can sustain health, and when healthy, and I'm going to show you I'm healthy, I'm still one of the best cover corners this entire league has to offer? I don't know. I'm not sure where he would be at. I understand the intrigue. I understand the vision. And I also would very much understand if the Ravens are indeed one of those 6 teams that look to be doing some preliminary early due diligence on Jaire Alexander, according to NFL insider Josina Anderson. From one DB to another, and it is at the safety position, which is a nice segue because let's be honest here, and I shouldn't say one safety to another. We know that Jaire is a corner. Bo Braid is a safety. He's a former undrafted rookie out of Maryland that snuck his way into the 53-man roster and was primarily a special teams player for the Ravens a year ago. As Jeff noted yesterday, he went down with what looks to be a serious injury. He couldn't put much weight on his leg as he was helped off the field by a trainer, according to Jeff. Jonas also noting that it seemed as if he couldn't put weight on both legs and referred to it as an apparent lower body injury. Now, is Bo expected to play a prominent role in 2025? No, I can't sit here and confidently tell you that. I don't even know if he's going to be on the 53-man roster. I hope he is. We had him on the show. He's a great kid. And looks like he could be a blossoming player that earns his role through special teams and then from there provides depth at the safety position. The problem is, if this is a serious injury for Bo, all of a sudden the Ravens are dealing with little depth at the safety position behind Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks. We know just weeks ago Ardarius Washington tore his Achilles. I mentioned this earlier on in the stream. Ardarius did so in a conditioning session. It's going to cause him to miss a chunk, if not all of, the 2025 season. Now, John Harbaugh did say that it was a clean tear, and he had a successful surgery, and we'll see if he's able to get back for a run down the stretch in the playoffs. But this is notable. And we know this time last year, right before our dark period, I think it was either late June, early July, the Ravens made the decision to go and sign Eddie Jackson. It didn't exactly work out for them, but he was the veteran that they were looking to, have him provide some level of stability in playmaking. It didn't happen, and it led to really a disastrous start to the season when it comes to the pass defense. Maybe one of the reasons why, given what's happening right now at the safety position, that Zach Orr shared earlier this week, or I guess it was at the end of last week, that Jalen Armour-Davis, a 2022 fourth-round corner who's had limited availability throughout his years, is getting a look at safety. They're trying anything right now, is what this is telling me, because they understand, in wake of Ardarius, now in potential wake of Bo Braid being down, and already having issues, as it were, last year, albeit not down the stretch. Really, it was the first half of the season. That they want to make sure that they can right their wrongs from a year ago throughout the entire duration of a 17-game season. And perhaps a dude that can be a major factor in doing exactly that is their first rounder in Georgia safety Malachi Starks, who shared a little story about a recent exchange, a 5 a.m. exchange, that is, with new assistant on the secondary, a former NFL head coach, and a former Baltimore Ravens assistant, and Chuck Pagano.
I told Chuck when I first got here, I was like, you remind me of Muschamp a lot, Will Muschamp. I was like, you're not as fiery. Muschamp will snap in a minute. But I was like, just the way they go about their business, and just like the knowledge of football that they both have. He texted me like at 5 this morning with film from Thursday practice. And I woke up, I was like, okay, cool, like that makes sense. So just being able to have somebody, like that's how I want to be coached. I received that very well. So just being able to have somebody like that in my corner, it's a blessing.
You see what I meant earlier on when I mentioned a masterclass in mental fortitude? That's what Malachi Starks showed to me in a simple little clip from a text that he received at 5 o'clock in the morning from Chuck Pagano, giving him feedback from the previous Thursday's OTA film that he was watching. First of all, Chuck still got the itch. And Malachi receives feedback well. What an awesome trait. What an awesome attribute that he brings to the NFL level. This dude is trying to get his feet from under him. The correct usage of that phrase, not feet out from underneath him. Shout out my friend. Let me make sure I pull up the email to get her name right. Shout out my friend Beth, who emailed me about my grammar and jargon yesterday. See, I'm implementing it now. Malachi and I are apparently cut from the same cloth, Beth. We both are receptive to feedback. You got to love it. Tila, I see you and hear you getting after me for different phrases. But that's not grammatical errors. That's just crutch phrases. So keep it coming, Tila. Thank you. But Beth has got me. And I think Malachi has got himself covered right now, because this is a player that understands who he is, that's been all in on the offseason process, and now has an opportunity in front of him to not just be a contributor in the back end of this Ravens defense, but be a sticking point, be a true mainstay alongside Kyle Hamilton, knowing what's happened around him thus far. He just picked off Cooper Rush in a recent OTA. He's learning the terminology. He's learning the playbook. He's getting to know his teammates. He says that Roquan Smith is somebody, obviously, as they have in their blood, really, as Georgia Bulldogs, is somebody that's already kind of establishing well, there's nothing to be established if you're Roquan. He's clearly the captain of the defense, but it hasn't taken Malachi long at all to understand who Roquan is and what he represents for this team. And I thought this was a really impressive, yes, simple, but a really impressive display of who Malachi Starks is and what the Ravens are getting in him. He also shared who his toughest cover has been thus far. And he thought about it for a good long second or so. And ultimately, not stumbled, but shared that it was Isaiah Likely. And how could it not be Isaiah Likely? He's a tough cover, man, for anybody. Listen to Malachi.
He's a great vet, man. Just being able to, we were just sitting over here talking, so just being able to like learn from him and just all the ball that he's seen, all the people that he's played with. Just for me to be able to sit in the same meeting room and be like, hey, like when they do this, what do you think about this or whatever? And then just, you know, his character. I mean, he's a funny, goofy guy. I mean, not what I expected him to be whatsoever. He's awesome, man. I'm blessed to be here with a vet like him and a lot of other guys in the room.
Glowing their remarks of Marlon Humphrey, but the one that I actually wanted was, again, him talking about the toughest cover team-wide so far.
That's tough. Isaiah. I had a rep against Isaiah the other day. And he's a lot quicker than what he looks on TV and in person. So, like I said, you know, just being able to learn from him, you know, just the knowledge that he's had while he's been here, and just the way that he does things. You know, every tight end is a little different, but, you know, he's very quick. He very knowledgeable about the game of ball. So just being able to go against him is only making me better.
Iron sharpens iron. He's a lot quicker than what he looks on TV and in person, Malachi says about number 80, Isaiah Likely, gearing up for a contract year. There's going to be some great training camp battles that we're going to be watching and covering over the course of the next couple of months leading into this season. And one of those guys that could be battling his butt off, right, jockeying for playing time and earning his keep within the defensive line is Aeneas Peebles, the defensive tackle out of Virginia Tech. Dennis Johnson is the Ravens defensive line coach, and he referred to Peebles as a player that has a, quote, elite get-off. The Ravens have high hopes for him, but Johnson, meaning, again, the Ravens defensive line coach, said he needs to improve technically. Jonas Schaefer's tweet from yesterday. Aeneas is the same guy who, the day he was drafted, basically went on a Twitter spree. He's quieted that down a little bit, but I, for one, especially having spoken at length with his college football head coach, right? Coach Pry from Virginia Tech. I happen to think that if there's a day 3 pick that could surprise some of us over the next couple of years, this might be that player. You guys know that I am high on Teddy Buchanan, the linebacker out of Cal. I believe he was day 2, if I'm not mistaken, or early day 3. My memory's slipping me on that one. But if there is a player that's more of a surprise in terms of his involvement, his development over the next couple of years, I think I'd have to go with Aeneas Peebles. The guy just reeks of Raven-like, doesn't he? One of the many battles, one of the many players that is going to be super compelling as the summer begins and the Ravens are at full strength. Mandatory minicamp June 17th to the 19th, training camp late July. That's what we have to look forward to. All right. Let's get to some more super chats that have come in. You guys are being and feeling generous today, which is appreciative. Let's see. We left off with Sharu's new membership, and we are sitting at 621. If you'd like to get to that 650 number, please do so. Act accordingly. Chuck Lund checking in as a channel member says, remember to wear 2 pairs of pants when you golf. You may get a hole-in-one. Some advice there from Chuck. Chuck, do you speak from experience on that? Thanks for the super chat. Mike Ross with $1.99. Appreciate you for being here today, Mike. Sharu says, couldn't figure out how to gift more memberships, so this will have to do, LOL. Sharu, you're the guy. If you're on Tila, can you help him out? I believe you have to get to a desktop, even though some have figured out how to do so on iPhone digitally. But regardless, thanks for the fitty spot. Appreciate you, Sharu. Again, we have 620 channel Voltrons right now. Hoping to get to that 650 number before today's show ends. Jason Zaratniak, who's also a patron member and a channel member on top of that because he's the guy. He says, no, it's get his feet under him. Stop using from. Wait a second. What did I use? And what did Beth tell me? I thought I nailed it. Hold on a second here. Beth says get his feet under him, not until he gets his feet out from under him. Yeah, I said gets his feet under him. Right? I think I hit that. I think I nailed that. You people are unbelievable. Putting words in my mouth. Love you, Jason. Appreciate you guys. You're hysterical. Let's get to some quick hits. My one more thing coming up as well. If you haven't yet done so, remember, you can vote once a day. You can enter yourself in once a day between now and the end of day on Thursday to be eligible for a $350 credit. It's a Father's Day special with Baltimore County Golf at Fox Hollow Training Center in Baltimore County. On top of that, they're going to give you a 30-minute custom fitting to guarantee you get the best club. Friggin' awesome. I'm pumped to be with these guys. I really am. Baltimore County Golf. Links in the show notes. It's also a pinned comment right now in the live chat. Okay. How about it, too? Chuck says he's got 2 career hole-in-ones. That's fantastic. I'm still waiting for my first. Driving me nuts, too. Congrats, Chuck. That's a big-time feat. John R. with a super sticker. Thank you, John. And thanks to all of you for being here. Over 1,000 concurrents between YouTube and Twitter. Sarah's is not included because she is in Switzerland on vacation. I hope she's having a blast. The social media is incredible. Jason says you keep saying from. It's maddening. When? What? I think you and Beth are saying the same thing. I've already corrected it, though. Gets his feet under him. Until Malachi Starks gets his feet under him, he's going to go through a learning curve, a learning process. It is a Grammar Tuesday inside this show. Love it. Attendance at today's OTAs from the local beat reporter community that is out there. First, Zay Flowers is in attendance, but as Brian Wacker notes in the Baltimore Sun, his right hand / thumb is taped up. Nothing to be alarmed about, but Zay Flowers' right hand / thumb is taped up, according to Brian Wacker. In terms of attendance, no Lamar, no D-Hap, no Namdi, no KVN, no Kyle Hamilton. KVN's in the middle of a 72-hour fasting right now, which we're going to get an update on in just a second here. No Bateman, no Awuzie, Bo Braid, no Bo Braid. And obviously Braid suffered what we know as some sort of knee or ankle injury on Monday. So, again, those are some of the players that are not in attendance for this last session of voluntary organized team activities. Jake Hummel is an inside linebacker that they brought in from the Rams in free agency. He's going to be the Chris Board replacement. And Jake also, he and his wife just welcomed a newborn into the world. So he is out there, as Jeff notes, for the first time. So there you have it. Who else isn't out there? Emory Jones, but that's not a surprise because he's dealing with the labrum. He's just trying to get back for training camp, says John Harbaugh. So those are some of your attendance notes. What else do we have to get to? Oh, boy, the AFC North drama continues. Does it ever for Cincinnati and for Pittsburgh. The reigning NFL sack leader, Trey Hendrickson, this is not a surprise because he has yet to receive the new contract that he's been looking for, and he's been very vocal, very outspoken all throughout the offseason, is not set to attend Bengals mandatory minicamp. So the plot thickens for the sack king, and if you're the Ravens, you're just kind of sitting back with your popcorn if you're a Ravens fan, enjoying this process. Ian Rappaport notes that there was some hope with money freed up yesterday that a deal might materialize, but nothing yet. So Trey digging his heels in, not attending mandatory minicamp. He will be subject to fines, as will TJ Watt. He's also seeking a new deal. He's an all-pro. He's an edge rusher for Pittsburgh, certifiable game wrecker that's ruined the Ravens' plans for years at times. He is not in attendance at Steelers mandatory minicamp. There's been no progress on a long-term deal, and here is what they are forfeiting. Over 3 days, it's over $104,000. Obviously, a drop in the bucket when it comes to extensions and what these players feel as if that they are worth. But these two players, most notably in the AFC North, and for teams that are direct rivals, competitors of the Ravens, trouble is brewing. Am I concerned that these deals, or is there room for optimism from a Ravens perspective? These deals won't get done? I don't think so. This is how business works. And ultimately, players are using whatever leverage they have. And by not attending a mandatory team minicamp, obviously that's going to stress out the staff, the coaches, ownership, that really in a lot of ways, the faces of these two respective defenses are not at a key date in the offseason is notable. And I suspect that these deals will get done at some point. It's just how much will they be dragged out? And who's going to buckle first remains to be seen. Plenty of leverage, though, if you're these two players still operating at a super, super high level. Nick Chubb, former Cleveland Browns running back, is signing a 1-year, $2.5 million really prove-it deal that can be worth up to $5 million in incentives with Houston. Nick has dealt with, I feel so bad for this guy, man. When he is at full strength, and if it weren't for that damn knee and multiple knee injuries, catastrophic knee injuries, you'd like to think this would be one of the highest paid running backs out there. And you got to think that all of Browns Nation is thinking, what if? What if he hadn't gone down with excruciating knee injuries, multiple knee injuries? You feel for this guy, but I'm glad Houston's given him an opportunity. Wish him the best going to the Texans. Derek Hamilton, father of Kyle, a former professional basketball player, by the way, is Derek Hamilton, tweeted out a photo of former NBA All-Star and his son, Kyle, with Jerry Stackhouse, the great Jerry Stackhouse. He's in coaching these days, by the way, if you're wondering. He used to be Vanderbilt up until 2024. Now he's on the staff as an assistant to Steve Kerr and the Golden State Warriors. But anyway, Derek and Kyle teed it up with Derek yesterday, it looks like. And it looks like Kyle was one of Jerry's mentees earlier on in life. Not a bad mentor whatsoever. The great Jerry Stackhouse. And by the way, from what I've heard, Kyle Hamilton is a friggin' stick. The guy's like a borderline scratch golfer. What is he not good at? The entire Hamilton family are just a bunch of freaking athletes. Highly jealous of that because I played my second round of golf, as I told you on Monday, in the Westchester County area outside of New York City. The wheels came off early. I striped that first tee shot, probably 260 right down the middle on that first hole. You got the starter looking at me like giving me a little golf clap. You got my brother who's hungover as hell from the previous night in New York. He's living in East Village, for those of you familiar with Manhattan. You got my college buddy who hosted us on this golf course, and they're both looking at me like, you've only played one round of golf, and you didn't even hit any balls prior to this round? I said, you're damn right. You want to know what my approach shot was on the second? Again, I striped that tee shot, take out like an 8-iron from 155, sculled it. So I came back down to reality real quick. I love this game, and I love Baltimore County Golf. I hope you guys will lean into that partnership so that we can work with them moving forward. I'm really, really excited about the potential of it. The BMW Championship at Caves Valley is coming up in August. We're going to be doing some things around that tournament, so I really look forward to that. KVN started a 72-hour water fast earlier this week. Oh, he's coming down the wire, man. If it's a 72-hour water fast and his last meal was at 6 o'clock Mountain Time, this would have been on the 8th, so that would have been Sunday, right? Then he's coming down to the wire. And today's got to be a friggin' grind for him. Eric Weddle, as I shared yesterday, and there's going to be an update if you're wondering why I have this again, there's going to be an update from KVN coming that he posted yesterday. But Eric Weddle was like, yo, I did this a month ago. Let me know your thoughts. KVN's like, nice. I did it a couple months ago as well. Felt like day 2 was pretty rough for me. Day 3 was a wonderful spiritual experience. Felt awake and alert. Ready to feel that again. Wish I could have kept going because once you hit the 3rd day, it's looking up. 72 hours, water only, a little bit of salt if you need it, no coffee, no nothing. KVN last night with an update.
All right, checking in, everybody. We are at the 24-hour mark, a little bit over. Hope everyone's doing pretty good. Hope everyone's drinking their water, staying on top of that. How I feel right now, I feel pretty good after one day. Honestly, I feel like it's been a little bit easier because I know the mindset it takes for these 3 days of doing the water fast, but I feel really blessed and just ready to go. Had a really good, intense workout this morning. Been staying super busy today. And yeah, I'm a little nervous for tomorrow because, you know, we'll see. And I'm a little nervous. Ordered kids the pizza. Gonna smell pretty good in the house. So I'm sure that'll get hard. And then I'm still pretty busy doing some stuff around the house. So I wonder how I'll feel once I'm done and kind of just alone in my thoughts. But honestly, I hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's staying the course. You got this. I'll check in at the 12-hour mark tomorrow. Stay up, and like David Goggins says, stay hard. Let's go.
This guy, man, he's somehow staying in the fight. Good for him. KVN, 72-hour water fast is what he's coming down the wire of. So good for him. He went on to share a bunch of different notes and respond to people in his mentions in terms of why he's doing this and why it's working for him on the other side of 30. I love it. This guy's still reinventing the wheel at 32, 33 years old, coming off a couple of resurgent, highly impactful seasons, a double-digit sack campaign in 2024 for the Ravens. And he's making me want to try this thing out, to be quite honest with you. Probably would go not well for me at all, but I would like to try the challenge of that. There is just something about overall nutritional health and gut health and God, gotten into Pilates in recent years. Anyway, more super chats have come in. Sharu is keeping receipts on me, by the way. He says that I definitely said from at the 9-minute, 17-second mark. Did you go back and timestamp me? Is that literally what you did, Sharu? That's what you did. Amazing. Everybody starts ganging up on me when Sarah leaves. Is that how it goes? By the way, what's going on in the chat today? I've seen a couple comments, but again, I can't multitask, so I typically read them afterwards. And I wonder, what in the hell is going on in the chat today? Slippery this, baby oil that, Taurus doing weird, you know what, after hours. Good Lord. Mike M gets us to 622. 622 in terms of channel members. 650 could potentially still be in the cards. Got to get patrons out there. Got to tell you about my one more thing. Draydog679 says a 72-hour water fast. Please make sure if you're trying, use spring alkaline water. If not, the water you're consuming is acidic water. Okay. It's good to know. I'm going to write that down after the show, Dre. Appreciate you. Not a Fan writes, a water or juice fast is easy once you get over the first 24 hours. I did it for 5 days, but 72 hours without oil is impossible. 5 days, Steve? Man, you're more freakish than I thought you were. Love you. Patrons, one more thing coming up in just a second. It's dating. Neil Harold and David and his wonderful daughter, Octavia Cool. Thank you all for sponsoring us, for supporting us, for giving us all kind of opportunity to work with you guys in the Patreon space. This is our monthly shout out. So Neil, David, Octavia, hope you guys are great. Hope you're having a great day. Thank you for the support that you give us through Patreon. And if you guys are interested in doing the same, visit patreon.com/RavensVault podcast. Y'all ready for one more thing? That's our new segment, by the way, where Sarah and I tell you what is on our mind any given day. So without further ado, let me do exactly that by going to my Instagram page and sharing the latest in my experiment. I guess I'm doing somewhat of an experiment, lifestyle influencing, if you will, on Instagram in the form of Instagram Reels. Why the hell not? It's the off season, and I got other interests outside of Ravens football. I think you guys know that by now. First of all, go follow at Baltimore County Golf on Instagram so that you can continue to stay up to date with what they have going on. And click on that link that's in the show notes. And as a pinned comment right now, if you'd like to enter yourself in for that $350 credit and a custom fitting on top. You can find me at Bobby Baltimore. And you can find, again, my latest, since I've been home, I've been dabbling, I think is the right word. I've been dabbling in some lifestyle influencing, typically humor, parody types of Instagram reels, right? First, you had the decluttering. Second, you had the dating. My mom and I trying to get in the dating scene and me criticizing her for not getting on the apps and trying to get a little fresh start. And now Francis takes center stage. And I'm sure he's somewhere right now grinning ear to ear because he's been jacked up about one more thing and being featured prominently on this show for as long as I can remember, right? The guy loves to be involved. Well, he got exactly that. On Sunday, when he and I went and his lady friend, he refuses to call her his girlfriend, which is a whole other separate conversation. Maybe we'll do one more thing on that soon. But he and his girlfriend have been seeing each other for over 10 years, and I went and met them to Third Wheel on Sunday, north of Albany. It's right near Saratoga, a town called Clifton Park. We watched some live music. The New York Players Band was fantastic. And then, ironically, we went to a bar called Ravenwood. I kid you not. This bar is called Ravenwood. All right? So there is some irony in all of this. But as I discussed, well, I'll let the video speak for itself, and then I'll tell you and answer any questions that you might have in terms of the recruiting efforts that's clearly happening with my father when it comes to my dating. Here it is. Enjoy. In this whole dating thing at Single and 30, where my father is straight up unhinged.
It's about going to bat for my son, Vitro, Bobby Trossett, Robert Francis Trossett, Vitro. Going to bat for him.
What he means by going to bat is essentially pimping me out to the local bartender when I'm not around.
Correct. I did it about a month ago. Now we're back to meet her. I told her I'd bring Bobby back. I'm a man of my words. There he is.
Is my father bothering you?
Always.
His friend Carissa is all I can tell.
This guy again.
Swing and a miss. One more time. I'm at my point in this whole dating thing at Single and 30 where my father is straight up unhinged.
It's about going to bat for my son, Vitro, Bobby Trossett, Robert Francis Trossett, Vitro. Going to bat for him.
What he means by going to bat is essentially pimping me out to the local bartender when I'm not around.
Correct. I did it about a month ago. Now we're back to meet her. I told her I'd bring Bobby back. I'm a man of my words. There he is.
Is my father bothering you?
Always.
His friend Carissa is all I can tell.
This guy again.
Swing and a miss. I don't know. Check it out. I'm dabbling in it. Lifestyle influencing, I suppose, at Bobby Baltimore on Instagram if you want to follow along. I'm having a little bit of fun with it. It's clearly humorous. It's clearly fun to poke fun at yourself. Enjoy that time. I'll be able to look back at these types of reels and content with my parents years from now. And who knows, maybe along the way, somebody out there who is the right one for me will enjoy it. But I enjoy it. I think it's humorous. I think it's a fun way to kind of lean into the off season and maybe something comes of it. I don't know. I got a lot of interest, so I'm going to continue to overshare. I'm going to continue to kind of, open up about my life in different ways, particularly when I make the move to St. Pete, because, September 1st, when I get in the car and pack everything I own for the most part that'll fit in the Bronco, including Tilly, it's going to kind of start a new chapter for me. And I think it'll be fun to sort of have everyone follow along and give updates and go throughout that experience and kind of just be an open book. So that's my plan. You can follow me as always on Instagram at Bobby Baltimore. You can find me on Twitter at the same handle as well. You can click join to become a Vault channel member today, 622 and counting. Let's make sure we're fully caught up to speed before we jump. We are. Patrons are done. The live chat is absolutely absurd. And I appreciate you guys as always. It was a hell of an audience today. Gave you about 70 plus minutes. So thank you. Like the video if you haven't already done so. That goes a long way. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell and enter yourself in for a chance to win a $350 credit that can go directly towards a brand new golf club or clubs, depending on what you're looking at the Fox Hollow Center. Fox Hollow Training Center. On top of that, they're going to give you a 30-minute custom fitting to guarantee you get the best club, feel, fit, and everything else that you're looking for. Links in the show notes, links in the pinned comment. It's a Father's Day special. You can enter yourself in once a day between now and the end of Thursday. Winner's going to be announced on Friday. Hope you guys had an awesome day. DreDog679 says, I'm proud of you, bro. Love you, man. I love you, Dre. I love all of you. Thank you guys for all the support. 700 perhaps in the cards for later on this week. Wouldn't it be wild if Sarah gets back on Monday, 6 days from now, and we're like up in the 800s? That'd be unreal, and I kind of low-key hope that happens because I want to make sure she knows that we held down the fort and then some inside this show. Bobby Baltimore channel's live later on. I got a 3:30 estimate with a tree removal company for my mother here, so it'll probably be a little bit later than it has been in recent days. I've been trying for that 4 o'clock hour instead of the 5 o'clock hour so that I can actually have more of a normal night. 2:30 press conference in an hour and 15 minutes from right now. So lots to discuss, but in terms of what we got to be watching is Bo Braid and Cheeto Awuzie, 2 defensive backs, a safety and a corner, that appear to be missing today in action due to being banged up yesterday. So we got to look into that. Obviously, it's something to watch, particularly with Cheeto, given that he is on paper supposed to be that Brandon Stevens replacement as a starting corner. More to come. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate Baltimore County Golf. Like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Thank you so much. And as always, Voltrons, thank you for spending some time with us here inside the Vault. Chat, if you want to bring that on over to Discord, good Lord, you do you. I'll go over there and close my eyes, but feel free. It's the Bobby Baltimore Discord server. It's a 24/7 hub for conversation, apparently surrounding baby oil, things after hours, Taurus doing, you know what. I'll see you over in Discord. Appreciate you guys. Later.